having us today. We stand in firm opposition about that the UN should prosecute crimes in this area. And it's been really interesting. I'm going to summarize the speech today and go over both sides' opinions, what has been thrown out, and try to really come down to what we have here and show that why our side is the right side. A little point of reputation first, before I get to the points about the rest of the round. He mentioned Africa, and we would say that that's just more failed policy. You're going to have an international organization coming inside here and meddling in the affairs of a nation. Now, the UN has a role. Obviously, we agree with that. We want peace talks in Israel, but what have they done in Africa? That would be my first question for this group, because if there's genocide in Israel, that's not the case. That's just not factual. Then he talks about how there's status quo, we support the status quo, and how that's bad. Actually, we support the status quo with peace talks and actually finding a long-term resolution in Israel. We're not saying anything about supporting, obviously there's a place for war, obviously war happens. We're talking about peace talks for the local actors, local countries, local representatives, to actually have peace in the long run. And so somehow for them to say that we're somehow evil because we're supporting the true cause, they're the ones that are trying to make the international intervention, which would actually make things much worse, which people would distrust these people who are prosecuting them when we're trying to have reconciliation between the two parties. How can you build trust when you're having prosecutors of an international body coming in and rounding people up and throwing them in prison? So, a little reputation about, it's not our side to propose a new plan. That's what he threw out there, that somehow we have to have a plan. It is our side to question their plan. And I think clearly we've established that there are some clear negatives to it, and actually is going to make it the problem not only worse but dangerous. More lives are going to be lost. So let me just go over this point. We did have a great first speaker. We talked about some great things about, it's good for Palestinians. That's a great point. They talked about how the U.S. easily meddles with the UN's affairs. So I was really confused because the U.S. so easily meddles with UN affairs, and yet somehow we're supposed to trust the international body. And sure, we're not an ICC. I don't think we were saying that, but we do have a player in the world. And that's called the UN Security Council. And we know at the international level that we do have pull. We know how the ICC works, obviously. It's an independent criminal court that's not a part of the UN Security Council, but we have pull within the rest of the world. And so somehow the U.S. Can meddle with affairs, but then you trust this organization. So you were really confused about this. You talk about how you have faith in the local government, and then you discredit Abbas. Really confused about that. Then we have the second speaker come up and talk about how she really hates Israel. Is what it came down to, and how disastrous they are. So we heard first how we want to prosecute both sides, how we want to do it. All we heard was how terrible Israel was, which is really interesting to hear that. But we know that you can't pursue justice when it's just. It's not justice at all that you're going for. You are going for, it's a mob is what it is. You can't have reconciliation when you're having a truth commission coming in and inquisitioning the players of two different areas. I'll take a question.
Yeah, Madam Speaker, it's because their whole side said that Israel was innocent, but furthermore, you want to have peace without retribution. But we talked about how you can't have peace without retribution when we brought up our example of the Nuremberg trials.
Yeah, the Nuremberg trials, which was a country that was overthrown. And that was clear. Nobody in the world questioned whether there was genocide here. Here you have a nation that's defending itself from daily rocket attacks and suicide bombing. And then you have an independent, international criminal court that's coming in and with a vengeance going after Israel. We want peace. Absolutely we want peace, but we want to do it the right way. Okay, so first we're going to have peace talks. Allow that to continue without this inquisition, without these criminal prosecutors coming in. Let them have peace. Sure, we've had 60 years of this issue going on. We know that. But what have we had? We've had international community coming in and meddling with their affairs. So we say, let the peace talks work. And that's why we're really confused about this side. Because somehow you think you can have reconciliation while you're having peace talks. Can you really do that? When an international criminal court that nobody is held accountable to, nobody elects these people. International Criminal Court, Who are these people? They're coming in and they're going to round up the Israeli government. Absolutely, that's going to happen, and that's why we're scared of your plan. And that's why we think you're going to derail the peace talks. Finally, we have some progress in this country with peace talks and progress around the world. We finally have international relations with the United States. We're working with Russia on Iran. Finally, we have some places that we can go, and you're going to derail that because you're going to destabilize it. I'm going to continue. So you can't prevent war through a court. We were attacked just like Israel is attacked every day on 9/11. Did we go to court? No, we fought back, and the world supported us. Just as Israel is fighting back now against people that aren't in uniforms, unfortunately. So the peace talks can create a state. Obviously, we've talked about the peace talks working. We'll continue with that, and you know, it's just scary what this plan has. The international intervention. You know, then we had this talk. Our group continued questioning you guys, and you guys brought up how that I mean, the crux of the argument, as we've stated, is sure, it's international intervention, and then somehow human rights. That's what they talked about. But it's not human rights when you're destabilizing a region. And that's what my partner got into. My partner brought in the last speech about how you're going to destabilize the rest of the world because nobody's going to be able to trust that they can defend themselves against attacks to a sovereign nation. So, first government cleared the house when they said they discredited this side. Second speaker asked you guys some questions about the clear plan and threw in some big questions. We don't have a good plan here from the government about how this is going to work. We have showed how it's actually going to make it worse. It's going to destabilize not only the region, the local players, but also the world. And that's why you're going to stand with us today.